A very good morning and thank you all for joining us at the inaugural session of the third Doctoral Colloquium organized by Xavier University, Kolkata. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Reverend Father Dr. John Felix Raj, Padma Shri, Professor Dr. Manan Chetty, Director Tata Medical Center, Professor Joyce Roy, Bongabundu Chair Professor at Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand, Dr. Neeraj Kumar, PhD Program Coordinator and Co-Chair of the Doctoral Colloquium, respected deans, faculty members, university officers, staff, research scholars, students, parents, participants, and all the well-wishers to the inauguration ceremony. This doctoral colloquium has been organized by the Xavier University. The university started its PhD program in the year 2019 with 3 disciplines, namely English, Mass Communication, Commerce and Management. Thereafter, the university extended its periphery by including the discipline of Economics and Management. This 2-day-long doctoral colloquium has been divided into 8 tracks. In each of the tracks, the participants will be presenting their research works in the presence of eminent academicians. The university believes that such exposure in this grand platform will surely boost the confidence of the research scholars to a great extent. With this positive note, I would now like to request Reverend Father Dr. John Felix Raj, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Xavier University, Kolkata, to deliver the inaugural address. Father.
Thank you. Respected Padma Shri Dr. Chandi, Dr. Joyce Roy, who is joining us online, Dr. Neeraj Kumar, our PhD coordinator, fathers, deans, PhD scholars, faculty members, and university officers. It gives me great pleasure this morning to stand before you at this inaugural session of the third Doctoral Colloquium 2021. As you are aware, Doctoral Colloquium is a platform for the young researchers to showcase their research work in progress. This platform is used not only by the PhD scholars of St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, but also used by the PhD scholars of other universities, both in India as well as abroad. I'm happy many scholars have joined us today from other universities. Research is a continuum, a praxis, a continuous process, an open-ended exercise. One outcome of the research leads to another research and outcome. There is a saying, every beginning has an end, and every end has a new beginning. And this is what it is. Research is a process that keeps on taking us further and further without end. St. Xavier's University, Kolkata is currently offering PhD programs in Commerce, Mass Communication, English, Management, and Economics. Students, faculty, and industry professionals join the programs under the supervision of faculty supervisors, supporting the timely and successful completion of their research degrees. The PhD scholars are here to embrace the values of research ethics and integrity as set out in the university's code of good research conduct and set out in the academic, research and professional world with the ethos of being a true Xaverian. As you know well, once a Xaverian, always a Xaverian. And this is the spirit that we carry on, not only in other courses, but also in the PhD program. In the near future, St. Xavier's University plans to add PhD programs in social work, law, psychology, interreligious studies, philosophy, statistics, and computer science. With these PhD programs, the university is all set to become a multidisciplinary education and research university as envisaged by the new National Education Policy 2020. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate our PhD coordinator, Dr. Neeraj Kumar, and his able team of professors and officers for their initiative in organizing this third doctoral colloquium. I'm sure all of us who are participating in this colloquium, PhD scholars and others, will have during these 2 days a fruitful exchange of ideas and knowledge. God bless our efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for your kind and motivating words. They always inspire and motivate us. We are honored by the presence of our honorable keynote speaker, Padma Shri, Professor Dr. Maman Chandi, Director, Tata Medical Center, Kolkata. He is also the head of the Department of Clinical Hematology and Bone Marrow Transplant. Dr. Chandi has had an illustrious career spanning over 4 decades and is a well-known global authority in the field of hematology. Sir introduced the significant concept of one-component therapy in blood transfusion, and subsequently he insisted the clinicians to practice the concept, pioneered the development of hematology and bone marrow transplantation in India. Sir research interests include molecular genetics of hematological disorders from thalassemia to leukemia, stem cell transplantation, and published more than 170 scientific articles so far. Sir was awarded prestigious Padma Shri in 2019 for his contribution in the field of medicine over 4 decades. Conferred with prestigious Dr. B.C. Roy Award by the Medical Council of India. He is the chair of the Stem Cell Task Force of the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Sir was also conferred an honorary DSc by the Jadavpur University in 2018. May I now request our Vice Chancellor, Reverend Father Dr. John Felix Raj, to felicitate Padma Shri Professor Dr. Maman Chandi. So we are really grateful for accepting our invitation and becoming a keynote speaker of today's event. I would now like to request Padma Shri Professor Dr. Maman Chandi to deliver his keynote address. So.
Reverend Dr. Felix Raj, Dr. Neeraj Kumar, and all of you who are present here today, and all of those who are online. I was telling Father that I have not ever spoken at a PhD colloquium will be a first. So I was wondering what I should say. So I sent Dr. Neeraj Kumar a few points that I would speak, and then he said, no, why don't you also do some science? So maybe I'll take 5 minutes more. So the first thing I want to say is, when I do a PhD interview, I ask the student, what does PhD stand for? Then if you are able to answer that question, right? That it actually means Doctor of Philosophy. Why Doctor of Philosophy? Why not just Doctor of Chemistry or Doctor of Management? It's Doctor of Philosophy. So what is philosophy? My understanding of philosophy is that it goes beyond the how or the what. It goes to the realm of why. So your mind has now transcended the realm of the mundane. You're asking, why is this process happening? What is the meaning of this process in the totality of my universe? You have become a philosopher. So all those who do PhD and just answer a question which they are supposed to answer as part of their thesis are not doctors of philosophy. You want to be a doctorate of philosophy, you understand that knowledge goes beyond the how and moves to the realm of the why. A few things about knowledge. Because when you have become a philosopher, you have become the ultimate in terms of knowledge in your field. And therefore, the first thing you must remember is that knowledge is costly. Knowledge is not cheap. The true innovations and things that have made a difference to our world are costly. And we must have reverence for the fact that it's costly. Secondly, knowledge and wisdom are not the same. Wisdom is moving to the realm of the why and asking the question, why does all this happen? Right? The third thing is that knowledge never ever makes anybody proud. If Isaac Newton stand before the ocean and say, I stand here like a little child, picking up a pretty pebble here and another there, while the vast ocean of truth lies undiscovered before me. If he could say that, how can ever the little knowledge we possess make us proud? I have never seen a doctor who really knows his subject be proud. Because he realizes, today what is my science is tomorrow changed. It's different. So never ever have I seen a truly knowledgeable person be proud. Because knowledge brings with it humility. I believe that knowledge is always associated with the sense of wonder. As a medical student, in fact, as a student of botany, when I first looked down a microscope and saw those chloroplasts moving in the cell, my mind was blown open. What am I seeing here? I'm seeing a cell alive. I'm seeing an organelle in the cell moving. What a wonderful thing that is. And as I graduated into medicine, I realized the wonder of the human body. There's a small 1 micron particle inside your blood called a platelet. If you look at the biochemical reactions that that 1 micron particle is capable of, it will blow your mind apart. So sometimes when I teach medical students, they come, they sit there, they have not woken up quite. And I feel so sad because I want them to experience the wonder of the human body. Next, I believe that knowledge is the way we can make a better world. No other way. And that this is the way by which we can better our humanity. Can we not tackle plastic? Can we not discover a way of piling it all up and breaking it back into what we want? Can we not reuse our energy in such a way that we are not totally destroying our environment? Sure, knowledge would be. And lastly, I believe that knowledge should be cheap. I said costly in the beginning, but in terms of availability to others, it should not be expensive. And I want to tell you a story. There were two researchers. One was Kohler and the other was Wilson. They were working in the UK and they are the first to discover the technology of making a monoclonal antibody. They discovered a way of taking a B cell, fusing it with a plasma cell, and then making huge amounts of a single specific antibody. Nobody has done that before. Kohler and Milstein got the Nobel Prize for it. And Margaret Thatcher wanted them to beat it. No. If they had patented it, they would have been billionaires. They said, this is for the world. And because they didn't patent it, the technology went like wildfire. The number of monoclonals that are available now for diagnostic purposes, for therapeutic purposes, is huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it grew at that pace because Kohler and Milstein said, we're not going to pay it. That's an issue and edict, but ultimately we are the ones who will decide whether it's patented or not. So, as an example that our knowledge must be available to others without wanting to take too much for it. My own field, do I have to have an Audi to be happy? Do I have to have a salary of this much to be happy? Or can I derive my satisfaction from the people who get that? So you're tying your knowledge, how much you can learn, how much you can get out of it. And that is the way the world is moving. That is quite sad. That's the way it is moving. So I just wanted to share these few thoughts about knowledge, the fact that in a PhD program, you're actually pursuing knowledge. And hopefully, that knowledge will move to philosophy. The question of why will perplex you and keep you occupied. So I wish all the PhD people who are studying this. So I'll now change tracks. And in fact, I have the first slide. In the next 5 minutes, quickly take you through something of stem cells. Okay? I was asked by your coordinator to do this. So I will very quickly do it. Stem cell. Next slide. Can go faster. So what is a stem cell? A stem cell is a mother cell. This cell is immortal. It is capable of dividing and it can keep dividing forever. My bone marrow doesn't stop working when I'm 85, saying time off. It continues. It's an immortal cell. And it is also capable of differentiation. That means the stem cell can become some other cell. Right? So there are two properties which define the stem cell. One is capable of indefinite division, multiplication, and the ability to differentiate types. Next slide. So this is what happens when stem cells divide. They create a huge number of daughter cells. Next slide. Right? Now in our body, we have 4 different types of stem cells. When a sperm fuses with an ovum, that is a totipotent stem cell. It can become you or me. It's capable of becoming every single cell in your body and creating an individual. Right? Now, after 2, 3, 4 divisions, totipotency is lost. You cannot become an individual. All right? Next is pluripotent. That means it can give rise to different lineages. And I'll give you examples. Third is multipotential. That means defined lineage. Right? And lastly is unipotential. In your skin, you have stem cells in the basal layer which can only become skin cells. They can't become anything else. 4 types of stem cells. Next time. This is an embryonal cell, which is an example of pluripotent cell. Can become muscle, can become liver, can become blood, but it can't become a human. Next. This is a picture of an embryonic stem cell. Next slide. Adult stem cells are of 2 types, multipotential or unipotential. There are only 2 types of multipotential cells. One is inside your bone marrow, and the other is the so-called mesenchymal stem cell. Right? Next slide. Now, if you look at the stem cell inside the bone marrow, when I do a bone marrow transplant, what I transplant is these cells, hematopoietic stem cells. Right? Next slide. They can divide, give you 2 daughter cells. Next slide. And they can differentiate. Next slide. And give you macrophages, osteoclasts, platelets, red cells, white cells, plasma cells. All of these cells can come from the hematopoietic stem cell. So I have a baby who's born with a defect in an osteoclast. Right? Now, when you're born, your bone has to remodel. For it to remodel, it has to reabsorb bone. So your eye, your big ear goes through the bone. If that bone is not remodeled, the baby will become blind. So if they don't have osteoclasts, they cannot remodel. Optic nerve gets crushed, child is blind. How can I treat that child? I can go bone marrow transplant. He has a brother or a sister who's matching. So any of these cells, in our country, there are 20 million people who are carriers of thalassemia. Right? The defect is in the red blood cells. I can correct it with a transplant. Otherwise, lifelong this child has to have transfusion. Next slide. Next. In the skin, in the basal layer, you have stem cells. These become skin cells. So if I injure or shave off a bit of my skin, within 2 weeks, these basal cells will proliferate and I will get a new layer of keratinocytes cells. Next slide. Differentiation is the process by which a stem cell can finally become a red cell or a platelet. That means all the genes are there. The process of switching on some genes and switching off some genes is what we call differentiation. Right? So an embryonal cell which is becoming a beta cell in your pancreas will switch off all the muscle genes. It will switch on only the genes which make insulin. Right? Next slide. And this is what can happen in the process of differentiation. Next slide. And this is a white cell which comes, this is the neutrophil in the end, which comes from a hematopoietic stem cell. Next slide. Now, do we think stem cells are plastic? We know an embryonic cell can become muscle cell, liver cell, bone cell, but can an adult hematopoietic stem cell become a muscle cell? I don't believe this happens ordinarily, but rarely it can happen. Next slide. Next slide. So, what makes a stem cell a stem cell? Next slide. Now, at the end of your chromosomes, you have something called telomeres. In stem cell, these telomeres are long, and there are lots of bases. That is one of the bases of stemness. Next slide. And this lady, Elizabeth Blackburn, got the Nobel Prize for her work on telomeres, the ends of the chromosome, and the relationship between telomere length and age. Next slide. There are 3 people who got it with her. The others are listed there: Carol and Jack Solstein. Next slide. That's what a telomere looks like on fluorescence and cytohybridization. Next slide. Next slide. So the issue is, can we produce pluripotent stem cells? Next slide. And that is an idea that was put together by Shinya Yamak. And these 2 guys, John Gurdon, got the Nobel Prize for their work on making an adult cell into an embryonic stem cell. Right? They took 4 genes, put those 4 genes. You can take a skin cell of mine, a fibroblast, put these 4 genes and make it into an induced pluripotent stem cell. Absolutely amazing. This is being done all over now. And the hope is that these induced pluripotent stem cells can be used for regenerative medicine. So when my knee joint is giving up, you can make a new cartilage cell from an iPS cell of the skin and recoat my cartilage so that I don't need a joint replacement, right? That's the hope. Not yet quite there. Next slide. Right? And these are the guys. Next slide. The Time magazine cover had this with Shinya Yamanaka, and it was called Life After Life. So take a mature cell, make it an iPS, and that can become any cell you want. Now, can it become another human being? At the moment, we think not. Next slide. But cloning told us we could do that. Now, this is an example of a patient with retinal degeneration. Next slide. Where they took the patient's own fibroblasts, made it into retinal cells, made a sheet of retinal cells, and put it back into the eye, and vision was restored. Right? So the possibilities of that science offers today is mind-boggling. Right? Next slide. And this is the famous Ian Wilmot of the Roslin Institute in Scotland. And he's the guy who first wrote Dolly. So what is the process of cloning? You take an ovum, right? A cell from the ovary, and you remove the nucleus. Take the nucleus from a fibroblast, put it into the ovum, and that can become an individual. And that was the first example of cloning, which we hope will not be done for human beings, right? And the thing is that Dolly aged very fast. She got cataracts, she got all sorts of problems. So we don't think cloning is a good idea. Okay. And at the moment, it is prohibited for human beings. Next slide. Next slide. This is one of the things we do with hematopoietic stem cells. If we had HLA matched and do a transplant and cure many of these genetic diseases which we had no choice. We can also do it for leukemia. Next slide. Norman Thomas, who got the Nobel Prize for his work in bone marrow transplantation. Next slide. Right. Next slide. Oh, go to this. Next slide. The other is the mesenchymal cells. And the hope is that we can regenerate bone, cartilage, muscle, tendon, adipose tissue, all from mesenchymal stem cells. A lot of research. So I'm sure the postdocs who are listening realize that the field of stem cell transplantation, and the field of stem cell biology, and understanding the process which confers stemness, how can we reconfer stemness on mature cells? It's fascinating biology, and PhD students have this sort of opportunity to think about all these wonderful things that science can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your insightful thoughts and such an interesting and informative presentation. It's a fact that knowledge helps us to be more grounded. On this note, now I'd like to request all the dignitaries on the dais to come and take a seat on the first row before we move ahead with our next keynote speaker. Our next keynote speaker is Professor Joyce Roy. I would now like to introduce Professor Joyce Roy. Professor Joyce Roy is the inaugural Honorable Chair Professor at the Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. She is also the Professor of Economics in the Department of Economics, Jaipur University. She is an internationally renowned economist. She specializes in the field of environmental economics, energy economics, and climate change mitigation and sustainable development. She is one of the authors of the IPCC Fourth Assessment Report 2007, a panel which won the Nobel Peace Prize. She is continuing as the coordinating lead author with IPCC and has been a chapter author of the Global Energy Assessment. She has been awarded the 2021 Parity Award by the Breakthrough Institute, California, USA. She was also in the leading team of Prince Sultan bin Aziz Award for Water in 2012. She is National Fellow of ICSSR. Now I would like to invite Professor Joyce Roy to deliver her keynote address. Ma'am.
Thank you so much. And I'm missing the face-to-face meeting, I can tell you from here, because the energy level that we get in face-to-face meeting is nothing like being online. But still, we can say that this is a technology which has made it possible for us to remain connected globally despite all the problems during the pandemic. So we must be thankful to the technology as well. And we need to get used to these, how we can get advantage of the most modern technology. I really thank all the organizers, and I was fascinated by listening to Father Felix's introduction and Professor Momin's presentation. It was fascinating. I also learned a lot. This was great. So what I have been requested to discuss something at the PhD colloquium. So I was just thinking, what should I be talking? And I thought that let me share with you some of my experiences that I have gathered over these past 40 years of my research experience. And I do mostly empirical research. So I would share with you as when I look back and when I still do my research, what I think really matters when we start a research. It doesn't matter when you start, whether I started when I was a PhD student or whether I start on a new problem today, the situation is the same. The challenges are the same. So I just thought that I'll share with you that what I feel a PhD student can get some insights from my experience so far. So I will share my screen and I will try to explain what I want to say. I hope you all are able to see it. So what I want to say is that what is really, really important, which came up in Professor Mamin's speech also, that it's the power of observation. As a researcher, we need to inculcate and generate our power of observation, strengthen our power of observation, which gives us some insights and helps us to create our own philosophy through which we can see any problem and analyze any problem. So as a researcher, what I feel is that we need to start with few basics. You know, sometimes when we start our PhD program, we start thinking that what should be my problem? How should I write a proposal? This comes much later. Just sit down and think quietly that why you are on this track of doing a PhD and what do you want to do? So basically, I feel that we want to observe things and then we want to explain in a different way so that we can reach the truth behind this observation. So when we say that we want to observe, so it's an act of noticing something. And we come up with a judgment, or we interfere with something which is an object, and it's seen or experienced. So intentionality, object, phenomena, event, both in first, second, and third person matter. So I always believe that power of observation comes from intentionality. So just do not hold the intention of getting a degree. Yes, that is something which just falls on your lap if you are having a right intentionality of observing a phenomena and coming up with your judgment about the truth. A phenomena or facts, let me give you a few more useful basics. I think that phenomena, facts, events that we seek to observe and explain has three things in it: source of intention, type of intention, and object. When I say for example, I see that this is my observation, right? That I see that Shantiniketan train starting off as the whistle blows. This is a mere statement. But in this statement, I is the source of intention, and C is the type of intention, and object is Shantiniketan train starting off as the whistle blows. I imagine, look at the next one. So the intention might be very different from one point to the other, and that's something we need to be looking at all the time. I can see the train is leaving, or I can imagine. If I imagine, then I'll be imagining, oh, Shantiniketan gets people traveling by train from all over. Then I can say that another issue which I worked on at some point of time, which I'll share with you, my experiences from that suppose I want to, as a PhD scholar, we all want to solve something, right? So I wanted to solve the access to drinking water problem of Baruipur community, which is infested by arsenic contaminated water. Then I intend to understand what are the second stream of research which I do is I intend to understand what are the energy appliances used, say, for example, by the Newtown dwellers. So these are the kind of, you need to keep in mind, you are the source of intention now. What is the type of intention you are setting in front of you, and what is the object? These are the two things you should be looking for when you are thinking of a problem, when you are writing a proposal, and when you progress. So what is the type of intention and what is the object of intention? So I think that why we need this kind of colloquium and orientation programs for the PhD students. I'm a believer of that. When I was in Jadavpur, I used to do this every year. I always told, I mean, this is in Bengali, I'm saying, every learner or porua should become a gobeshok, a research. So how do you become a researcher from a learner? A learner is a taught mind, and researcher is a thinking mind. So it is like shifting the mode. You know, we shift the modes in our videos, audios, TVs, and mobiles everywhere. So we need to shift now our thought mind to a thinking mind. And we should be asking questions. We should be contradicting with the existing knowledge. And we need to come up with new explanation, analysis, viewpoint, and a direction. And so from a researcher, what is needed is a thinking mind. All the time, it should be thinking on the object of its intention. And there should be unending questions. If you do not find a question, what to answer, look back to yourself and to your intentionality and re-emerge from there with unending question. And awareness about our realities is first and foremost that helps us to ask questions. And do we accept as they are, or live in complacence, or start questioning them? We need to find alternatives, and we need to find alternative answers. And from where and whom do we find alternatives? So I think we really need such colloquiums, and maybe, maybe monthly discussion forum among the researchers and the research trainers to encourage the independent research mind. It is just not about the subject or object on which you are focusing, but also the motivation, and encourage the independent research mind to identify and understand. How do you identify and understand a social problem is enormously important. And we need to think within and going beyond disciplinary boundaries. And we need to encourage leadership quality among the researchers to have vision and innovative thought and problem-solving attitude. We do need good peer-reviewed publishable analysis, definitely. Why? Because unless your research is enjoyed by others, appreciated by others, or seen as valuable by others, just self-satisfaction with your research is not going to make a change in the society. And we are doing the research, spending so much of time and energy of ourselves to make a difference in the society. So why take up research? I always say that it should be globally applicable. The purpose of research is to answer a question that is interesting, that deserves spatial attention. So when you come up with a research question, you need to justify why this deserves a spatial attention. Will it be interesting to larger audience going beyond yourself? Will it produce results that will be new? And just do not collect information without a clear research question. I see many a time, I have faced over these 40 years, many a times, the students coming to me and telling me on day 2, what data I should collect? I just tell them that forget about any collecting data now. Think for 1 year, what should be your research question? And then you farm it up, and then you think that what data will you be collecting? So I have seen very, wrong way of progressing with research. And that's why every year in Jadavpur, I used to do this orientation program for the prospective researchers. So I feel that essential steps in a proposal preparation or as you go along towards a completion of your thesis, you identify a problem. As I said, I wanted to understand how access to safe drinking water can be provided to the people who are living in an arsenic-infested area. So ask a clear research question. Limit the scope of the research. You need to think what should be your limit of the scope of research. And then you start saying what is known, what is unknown, and then identify your skills and information. Those are needed to answer the question. There are so many interesting questions, but given my skill and my limitations, I must know what I can answer and what I can attend to. So select the methods needed to collect and analyze the data and information. So see, what data to collect comes sixth in terms of priority in my research work and practices. Then you explain the kind of results that you expect and how they will be presented. So read research articles from journals so that you can understand how, when something is published for a larger audience, how you can reach up to that level. Initially, you will not be understanding while reading the journal articles. It doesn't matter. It happens with everybody. That's why I said first 1 year, just devote your time from 1 to 5, as I said here. And then how to position your study. Know what exists, right? So literature review. This is extremely important. Only relevant ones, relevant literature, show what is said, identify the gap, and show your proposed contribution by selecting a research question which can fill in the research gap in the knowledge domain which you are trying to delve in. I would say in the whole process of literature review, now there are different kind of reviews that you can do. One is systematic review. These are technically enabled, but also humanly enabled. So I would say that combine both, but do a systematic review. So there is a process how you do a systematic review, because that is most important. That will give you what is known and what is unknown and how you can contribute to the knowledge gap. I'm just showing a link where you can go and where I conducted a session with 2 of my postdoc scholars. So you can listen to that. It's a video there. And so you can listen to that at your leisure. You don't have to come back to me or go anywhere. You can listen to that. That will tell you how to do the systematic review. And then you will get a clue how you can proceed further. I think this will be very helpful for you. So if you do that, that will be your great advantage. So as I said, you need to ask yourself, what is your existing skill and what is the new skill that you need to acquire? What is new skill that you need to learn? If you do not know how to do a systematic review, that may be a new skill. You must be learning maybe new softwares, that will be a new skill. So there will be many, many new skills which you need to identify what you need to do. So first 1 year is on that. So that is something very, very important for a sound foundation for any good research work. And of course, we do need outputs. We need to see that what is the output of your time that you have given. And that's, of course, publication, thesis, policy implication, it can be prescriptive, it can be implicative. What is your expected result? Think from the day one. And who will be the possible users of your results? And you should contribute to the subject and the literature. Of course, journal article is must, at least in AIT and in Jadavpur University, I know. I mean, publication is a good quality publication, is a mandatory one for the PhD scholars. So you should be targeting for putting in your best efforts so that what you do, what you write, it should be read by the whole world. And what I'll just say that when I was doing a research about the arsenic in water, so I knew some of the facts from reading, and you all must be knowing. I chose this to talk to you because this is a major local problem in West Bengal. So scientific testing and testing labs, they all say that arsenic level in water is very high in many parts of West Bengal, and they are beyond the safe health limit. And epidemiological studies have shown the health manifestations of these. So these are all known now. And arsenic patients are now burden of the family. That's also a sociological fact. And they are facing serious financial constraints. These are also facts. And we all know, and arsenic patients are treated as untouchables in the society. That also we have seen in villages after villages, in Murshidabad, in Baruipur, in South 24 Parganas, in North 24 Parganas. I'm not going to give you the details. But what we are finding is that even the given the sociological problems, there is still some myths. When I started reading into the literature and when I started talking to people, then I found that many scientists also started saying that, households do not use arsenic safe water even if you give them, which did not really go with my economics training of human behavior, why households would not use safe drinking water. Then households continue to still arsenic water. Technological solutions have not been accepted by villagers. These are all myths, I'm telling, right? Because I have been working in this field for past 20 years, and I know that providing access to safe drinking water, you talk to many government agencies, they will say that problem has been solved through various infrastructure problems, so there is no need to attend it. But if you go to the villages, you can see what the problem is still on the ground. So we started asking a research question. So as I said, what is known, I first wanted to know. After reading all the literature that are possible, I could get hold of. And then the research question is, what is the risk perception of individuals or households in arsenic affected zones of West Bengal? So this was the question which came up with a background of economics training. So what is the risk perception of the people? Why they do not use, or why they do not do this? Because if we see something risky, then we do not do it, right? We all in pandemic, we all stayed home because we saw the risk in it. So what is the risk perception? Many people did not listen first because their risk perception was different. So this is the question that we asked. And then we wanted to know what factors determine risk perception of individuals. So this is how you start setting your research questions, just a demonstration and just few things as new research students. And then we did the literature review and arranged them according to different headings, that under risk perception, what is the literature? Economic and social benefit, what are the literature? And arsenic exposure, what is the literature? So with all these, I will stop here and stop sharing. And I would say that begin your journey with a open mind and thinking mind, and inculcate your thinking mind and devote your time wholeheartedly on the problem you are going to choose for solving. Thank you very much, and I'll stop here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your enlightening speech. Surely it will help our research scholars in planning their research. Thank you so much, ma'am. May I now request Dr. Neeraj Kumar, PhD Program Coordinator and co-chair of the third Doctoral Colloquium, to brief us about the program and also deliver the vote of thanks. Sir.
Honorable Father Vice Chancellor, Reverend Dr. John Felix Raj, of Xavier University, Kolkata, Adishri Dr. Chakra, who is a world-class researcher in the field of stem cell research, respected fathers, deans of faculty, the entire faculty, the supporting staff of this university. And in fact, I need to mention the organizing committee of this third doctorate here, which consists of Dr. Soma Sood from Xavier Business School. We have Dr. Manalika Ray from Commerce and Management, Dr. Manali Bhattacharya, who is from Department of Mass Communication, and Dr. Devanina Chakravarti, who is representing the Department of Economics. We also have Dr. Priya Green, who is from the Department of English Mathematics. So these 5 faculty members who form the organizing committee are the people behind us. Before I start talking about the Doctoral Colloquium, let me make a reference to what Dr. Norin Chindi and Grandfather Felix mentioned about. One, knowledge is philosophy. Number 2, research is an art. So I take forward these 2 points. The Doctoral Colloquium fundamentally is a platform for PhD researchers who are young in the field of research. In fact, from that perspective, listening to Dr. Govind Chendi, I think those who are Doctor of Philosophy, I am one of them, we need to seriously look back at ourselves, that when we are Doctor of Philosophy, are we doing justice with it in terms of contribution to the society? So, a retrospection. So this Doctoral Colloquium is supposed to be a platform for the young researchers. Not only a platform for the young researcher, this is also a platform for the faculty supervisors, because to my understanding, PhD research is one format of research. There are other formats of research also. PhD research is one format of research, and it's a journey which is a journey for both the scholar as well as the supervisor. Unlike the conventional universities where it's entirely the scholar's journey, for the next generation universities like Xavier University, Kolkata, we will ensure that the journey is for both the scholar and the supervisor. And that brings to the discussion that the supervisor needs to align with the research objectives and the research theme of the work which the scholar intends to do. If that marriage or that integration takes place properly, sky is the limit as such. So I was just looking at the term Doctoral Colloquium. In fact, I was looking closely at the term colloquium, because this practice of Doctoral Colloquium is not an Indian practice. It's a practice which is done by Ivy League universities. It is an international concept. If you talk of India, few institutions practice. If you talk of state of West Bengal, none of the university in West Bengal is practicing Doctoral Colloquium at this point of time. Yes, there are a few national institutions like Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, who does have this platform like Doctoral Colloquium. So, what makes the colloquium important? So, if you look closely at the term colloquium, if you look at the letters which are embedded in colloquium, L-O-Q-U-I, colloquium. Colloquium is fundamentally a Latin term. The Latin term colloquium stands for to talk. So that means if you are a researcher, whether you are young, whether you are a novice, whether you are a mature researcher, in fact, researcher is never supposed to be a mature researcher because it's a continuum. So as a researcher, you are supposed to talk, you are supposed to share, you are supposed to integrate. Incidentally, my doctorate is in the area of knowledge management, and I'm also at the postdoc level, I'm involved with technology transfer and commercialization. The knowledge management experts, if you refer to the yesteryears or the pioneers of knowledge management research, I would like to mention Lunata and Takeuchi, 1996. They created the concept. In fact, they were the pioneers and are considered as cornerstone, talking about process of knowledge creation and transfer theory as such. So that means, as a researcher, since a lot of PhD scholars are now with our university, in fact, we are happy to have 3 batches of PhD scholars at this point of time. Around 90 PhD scholars are enrolled with us. So the point is, the journey is not a journey which is your journey only. You have to make sure that you create a knowledge community around yourself. And when you create a knowledge community around yourself, it is not limited to you and your peers or your supervisor or co-supervisor. You are supposed to integrate with the specialist, and the specialist can be from any walk of life. It can come from research, it can come from government, it can come from academia and the practice. Okay. So you need to integrate with the knowledge community and ensure that the proper discussion takes place. And in the process, if suppose you are doing an exploratory research, if you are doing an exploratory research, you need to integrate with the theoretical research-based specialists, those who are into modeling, those who have been doing their research into several theoretical models as such. If you are into, let's say, empirical research, you need to be user-centric. If you are working closely with industry, you are supposed to integrate with industry. If your research is policy research, it's the policy-focused research, then you tend to include the policy makers and the policy facilitators in your spectrum of knowledge community as such. So therefore, I refer back to the SKY model of Kolkata and Takeuchi, which talks about 4 dimensions. The 4 dimensions are externalization, internalization, combination, and socialization. So employing the 4-dimensional technique, you are expected to create a knowledge community around you as such. And this is where the doctoral colloquium pitches in. Doctoral colloquium is also one of the formats of knowledge integration and building up knowledge community as such. In fact, that also takes us to building knowledge spirals. You need to create spirals around you at various levels as such. In fact, as I said, as I shared in the beginning, that doctoral colloquium is a practice which need to be leveraged for our university. And this platform is not limited to the PhD scholars of our university per se. This is open to the PhD scholars for other universities and institutions in India and abroad. So when we, in fact, it gives me a great pleasure to look at the third Doctoral Colloquium coming into existence. I remember those days. Xavier University Kolkata was established in the year 2017. Within 2 years of inception, when we were contemplating at the level of executive council that should we venture into research program, it was a bold decision which was taken by the Vice Chancellor of this university. Because the research programs requires two things. One is the research-oriented faculty, and second is the research infrastructure. In fact, we are privileged to have a visionary Vice Chancellor who had been able to provide both the platforms, both the resources. One, a good set of qualified, trained, oriented faculty fraternity, and on the other side, a world-class research infrastructure as such. So with this, let me share quickly the format of the third Doctoral Colloquium. The third Doctoral Colloquium comprises on the peripheral areas, which includes the inaugural session. You have already heard world-class keynote speakers, but of course, Professor Dr. Momin Chandi, who is fundamentally from Christian Medical College in Bangalore, started his career as a professor, and he is a researcher and a practitioner. In fact, few days before, when I was trying to talk to him, he was in OPT. That gives us the sense that research and practice goes hand in hand. You cannot separate research and practice. And that is the reason why in the Doctoral Colloquium format, we brought the concept of plenary session on sustainable excellence in research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Because what happens is, research will tend to bring innovation on the table. But when the innovation is there, innovation in itself does not mean anything. Innovation has to be converted into a proposition. It has to take a shape. So when innovation is converted into a proposition, any proposition which is offered to the world, which does not come to a price, will not be taken seriously. It needs to have a price tag attached to it. So this innovation has to be transferred to the society through a process of commercialization and transfer process as such. So once for transferring the innovation or innovative product services and bringing it into the market is where the entrepreneurship comes into play. And that is why we have kept a plenary session which integrates research, innovation, and entrepreneurship as such. And this time, in fact, as Dr. Chandi spoke, knowledge is a philosophy, and Father said knowledge is a continuum. The first Doctoral Colloquium, the second Doctoral Colloquium, we were still struggling with the knowledge basis, how to proceed with the Doctoral Colloquium, and fundamentally, as a child, we started with discipline-specific approach. So we started vertically. There's no harm starting vertically, but eventually in the process, we learn that research has the depth, the research has the width. So you have to talk about the depth and width of research. And that is why we brainstormed on this issue and then later on decided that from third Doctoral Colloquium onwards, we will shift to track-based. So tracks are organized or identified in such a manner that they are contemporary, they are able to address the emerging areas, they are interdisciplinary in nature, and they are also practice oriented. I'm personally privileged in one way that I basically come from industry. I am a hardcore practitioner. And as a practitioner, when I got converted into a researcher and into academics, then I could see the two worlds. The two worlds operate differently. The practice works differently, research works differently. But the time has come. In fact, if you want to look at world-class research, you need to integrate research and practice. The point is, if you are coming with some kind of research deliverable or some kind of research output, I'm not talking theoretically in terms of generating H index or creating citation index for your research publication. It sounds theoretical to me, at least as a practitioner, if I look from that side of the world. But what is important is what, on the basis of discussion with Dr. Chengi, I found out that the research has to be for public good. If the research is confined to the thesis, or if the research is confined to few papers, for me, it might land up as a garbage. For the research to qualify as a productive research, it needs to integrate with the users, it needs to integrate with the practices. So with these words, I would like to end up here and initially convey my gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Father Felix Raj, who is always behind the initiatives which is taking place at the university level. Father had been kind enough, one, to give the faculty fraternity the sufficient kind of autonomy and platform which the faculty require at this stage. Father, we are thankful to you for this. And not only that, he is also there to handhold us. He's not leaving us after creating the platform. He's also handholding us to ensure that you reach your destination. In fact, as a student of management, and when we look at leadership, today the leadership format has changed. Leadership is not about leading from front. Leadership is about seeing the leaders working at the front and watching from back. That yes, my leaders are performing. So that is exactly what Father Felix Raj is doing at this point of time, and we are indebted to the visionary leadership and the facilitation which is provided by your Father. I'm also indebted to the administrative construct of this university, which consists of Father Pro Vice Chancellor and respected registrar, who always are a constant support in terms of providing an administrative construction of faith, whether it is about running a program or whether it is about getting resources to execute those programs, whether it is in terms of regulation, rules, ordinances. We are thankful for the administrative construct for this. And obviously, the faculty fraternity, in fact, my colleagues in the faculty fraternity, which includes, of course, the deans of the faculty, this is the team which makes the things work. This is the team which is going to see the light of the day as such. So I'm really indebted to the entire faculty fraternity, and in particular the organizing committee, who have been basically working behind this event, and they have been highly successful in networking with the resource person and ensuring that such kind of events are important and they're able to mobilize PhD scholars of all the three batches to get integrated into such program. In fact, I must appreciate the organizing committee when they came forward. At the last moment, I approached the organizing committee and I just shared my vision and said, I'm missing something. What is that? I said, I wanted my PhD scholars from the first batch to share something. And suddenly, a term was coined, called as dashboard. And this is the dashboard which we are going to have immediately after the inaugural session. That the dashboard will talk about the progress of the research work by the first batch of PhD scholar research. Needless to say, the officers of the university, in particular, the IT coordinator, I'm seeing Mr. Malay Mitra. He has some preoccupations today, but he has left those preoccupations and has ensured that he is there today. Mr. Mario Lewis, who is constantly working with us in terms of liaising with the resource persons. Mr. G.P. Gupta, who is the liaison officer, he is always behind in terms of providing the appropriate infrastructure for conducting such type of programs. The support staff, the IT office, I need to take mention in particular German. Sometimes German frightens me up when he says that, sir, you trust me, I'm there with you. So he keep me waited for some time, but he comes into the real picture with perfection. So that is something which I adore about him as such. And of course, the electrical support mechanisms provided by the electrician support staff, my own support staff, particularly Satyajit. I have taken him for granted 24/7, so I connect to Satyajit any point of time in the day as such. So I'm thankful to him for providing all that support as such. And last but not the least, let me convey my gratitude to the resource persons who have actually, who is coming forward. Without you all, we would not have taken such kind of initiative, which is very important. And at the end, the focus point of this doctoral colloquium. My bright young researchers, we want to learn from you as supervisors. Come forward with your innovation. Come forward with what we expect out of you. We all, at the end of the day, are Xavierians, including me. Let us show to the world. We are coming as researchers. Wait and watch. We are going to do a good piece of work. And we are researchers who are aware of integrating research with practice and entrepreneurship. So with this, thank you very much. But yes, before I conclude, I need to convey my gratitude to the MC of this inaugural session of this Doctoral Colloquium, Dr. Manali Bhattacharya, who has steered the program pretty well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. This doctoral colloquium has invited submissions from research scholars in several tracks, and we are happy to announce that we have received overwhelming responses from different parts of the country and beyond. As we come to the end of the inaugural program, we would like to convey our best wishes to all the participants who will be presenting their papers in different tracks. Technical sessions will start from 1:30 p.m. and the scholars dashboard will start from 12 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us throughout the session. Thank you so much.